Welcome, AP students. This is your final full-fledged AP exam review information video. And in this video, I just want to share some final tips and some final reminders as you get ready to take your AP exam here pretty soon. Again, what you want to make sure is that you've got together everything you need before that time comes to take your test. So for some of you, that's here in just a few days. Some of you, it's a little bit longer. But get all that stuff together. Make sure you have your e-ticket, which will get mailed to you 2 days prior to your test. So for calculus, that should be on May 10th sometime that you get that e-ticket, and in stats, it should be sometime on May 20th. Again, make sure you've got that AP student checklist. Make sure you've gone through that. Make sure you write your AP ID number on that. Make sure you've tested your device and your browser and your internet connection. Get your documents prepared ahead of time, whether you're going to handwrite those or whether you're going to type those. Get those prepared with your AP ID at the top and your initials at the top of each page. Make sure you've collected your calculator, that it's in good working order, that you've got plenty of batteries in it. Make sure that you've got your notes handy, your study guides, whatever you're going to use. Digital, handwritten, that you've got access to those, you've got access to the reference sheets or whatever else that you are going to use on that day of the exam. So again, just make sure you've collected all that stuff together so that you're not rushing around right before the test trying to get that all together before you take the test. As you're thinking about where you're testing, make sure you get somewhere where you can limit those distractions. Make sure you're away from everybody else. Make sure you can concentrate wherever you're at. Make sure you've got plenty of room. If you're going to be taking pictures, especially, make sure you've got good lighting to take those pictures in, good internet connection, an outlet so that you can plug your Chromebook or whatever you're using, plug it in if you need to. Let everybody know that you're going to be testing and that you are unavailable from 1:30 until 3 o'clock on that day of your test, which for calculus is May 12th, and for stats, which is May 22nd. So make sure everybody knows that you're off limits at that point. And again, if you're in a place where you have limited bandwidth, just ask everybody else to really limit their use of the internet if they can while you're taking that test. On the day of the test, log in early. Remember, your test starts at 2. You can log in starting at 1:30. So real close to 1:30, go ahead and log in. Use the link that's on your e-ticket to get there. Remember, you can either do the email link from the e-ticket or you can go to the College Board link with your e-ticket. But either way, you're going to click on the link in your e-ticket to get to that testing room. Go ahead and go through security. It shouldn't take you more than 5 or 10 minutes. You will need your AP ID, so make sure you got that. Then just relax. If you want to go back and look at a few things, go back and look at a few things, but make sure that you are just in a relaxed state. Don't use your back button or your refresh screen again as you're waiting, because the test will start automatically. And if you go the back button or refresh the screen, it's going to kick you out. So don't use those buttons. Just sit there, relax, look over stuff if you need to, but just wait for the test to start. If you've got your work and if you're going to type that, make sure you've opened your other windows or your other tabs, however you want to do that, that your pages are ready, they're formatted, and organize your work pages, all that stuff. Set everything out that you need, that you think you might need. And again, just relax as you're getting ready to take that test. Log in early so you can relax a little bit before the test pops up, because that question will pop up right at 2 o'clock. Remember, those questions as you're working, they may be longer than what you can complete during that time frame, and that's okay. You don't have to get every part done to get a 5 or to pass even. Do what you know. Focus on what you know. Don't panic. Again, relax as you're taking the test. As you're typing your responses or writing your responses, organize your work. Try to be clear. Use good math terms as you're working. And so as you're showing your work, as you're explaining your work, if you need to explain your work, make sure that you're clear in how you're responding so that somebody that's not me, that hasn't been with you all year, understands what you're saying, understands that you know what you're doing. Make sure you keep an eye on that timer. Don't stress out over it, but remember, when it turns red, that's telling you that you better hurry up and get your submission ready. If you're taking pictures, it may take you a little bit longer, but regardless, you need to attach those pictures. You need to attach the document. You need to cut and paste into the box that they have and hit submit before that timer runs out. Okay, don't wait too long. If you do not submit, then it's not going to score it. So no submission, no score, and that's no retake. Okay, if you just ran out of time, they won't give you a retake. But make sure you don't hit that submit button until you're ready to submit, especially if you're uploading pictures and you've got 4 pictures to upload. Make sure you've connected all 4 pictures before you hit submit. Don't do one and hit submit, because then you won't be able to you won't be able to submit your other 3 pages. So you need to hit submit, but you also need to make sure everything is ready to submit before you submit, if that makes sense. Also, during the test, if something happens, try to recover from that. If there's a distraction, if the dog runs through the room and knocks over your drink, or if your internet's interrupted or whatever, try to recover from that. You can use the e-ticket link. You can get back into the test that way. But if you lose too much time, don't stress out over it. Just make sure that you explain that well when you're filling out your makeup, and they're going to give you a retake on that. They'll give you a makeup test. So just use your e-ticket to fill that out with that makeup, and go to that website right there, cb.org/request makeup, within 48 hours to get that makeup set. A few tips: you can use notes. Just keep in mind, is it a good use of your time? If you're thumbing through all the notes from the whole year and trying to find one small detail, is that 10 minutes that you spend trying to go through all those notes, is that really a good use of your time? So use your notes, but don't overuse your notes. Try to consolidate those ahead of time, so you don't have to go through 500 pages of notes, that you've got 1 or 2 pages that you kind of know where everything's at. You can do a Google search, but again, be cautious that you don't accidentally go into a discussion board or a chat room or something like that and put yourself in a potential cheating situation. So be careful with those Google searches. And again, ask yourself, is this a good use of my time? Is it a good use of my time to spend 5 minutes looking on Google for a detail that, I maybe don't need? So keep in mind that it's also better to submit a partial response than none at all. So if it's 1 minute left until you have to submit, and for some reason you didn't get all the parts answered, again, they don't really expect you to, but submit a partial response instead of no response at all. And that kind of makes sense. As you're working through the test, if you get to a later part in the question and you think, oh, I know how to do that, if I would have had the answer for part B that I didn't know how to do, then you can always just assume what part B was. You can say, well, I'm going to assume that the answer to part B was 16. And so knowing that, then the way I do part E is I take 16 minus whatever, or however that would set up. Again, as you're working through the test, relax. Focus on what you knew. Don't stress out over the things you don't know how to do. There's nothing you can do about it at that point. But the things that you know how to do, make sure that you focus on those. Look for keywords, look for phrases that you've seen before this year, and think back to how we did problems that had those keywords or those key phrases in them. Maybe it's for calculus, maybe it's instantaneous rate of change or rate of change. In stats, maybe it's a confidence value, and you think, oh, that probably means I'm going to do a confidence interval. Maybe phrased a little bit differently. They're going to challenge you to kind of think on your feet. So just be prepared for that. Be prepared that it may not be worded the way you're used to seeing it. They're trying to see if you can think on your feet and come up with these things. Okay, after you're done with the exam, remember that those uploads may continue in the background after you hit submit. So even after the time runs out, so don't close your browser until you receive confirmation of the upload. Also, remember to sign in and update AP reports of what you want to send to colleges before June 20th to avoid any kind of a fee. And the results are going to be a little bit later to coming out this year. They're anticipating around July 15th for your AP results on your test. So don't think you're going to get them the next day. It will take a while before you get those. But if you do want your scores to go somewhere specific, make sure you log in and get those set. So that's it as far as the tips and advice that I have for you today. Again, you're going to be doing some more AP review problems online today, and it's set up like it has been before, where the first time you see the question, there really won't be much there. But the second time, if you don't get it right, the second time, there'll be some hints, hopefully, to help you spur your memory a little bit. The third time, maybe even a few more hints. And then after the third submission, if you still don't have it right, there's going to be boxes that show up that say show answer. If you click on that, it will give you the answer, which is great. You can type those answers in and get the questions right. But make sure if you don't understand where you get that answer or how you do that problem, make sure you post that question on the discussion board so I can answer that for you. I've tried to, in the show answer button, also explain how I got those answers, but sometimes it's a little bit limited on what I can type in there. So make sure, again, if you have questions, I'm fine answering emails, but I just assume you put it on the discussion board, because that way everybody has access to the way I've answered that, and they can use that to review as well. So, all right, so good luck today as you work through those AP exam questions, and continue to reach out to me.